So good afternoon. This topic is your food-borne diseases. I'm Dr. Jamie Natasha Pagaw from the Department of Preventive and Community Medicine. So these are our objectives for today. So let's start with your food hygiene, safety, and sanitation. Food safety refers to the assurance that food will not cause harm to the consumers when it is prepared or eaten according to its intended use. Food hygiene, on the other hand, refers to the measures and conditions necessary to control hazards that could lead to food-borne illnesses and to ensure fitness for human consumption of a food of plant or animal origin, taking into account its intended use. Food sanitation ensures protection of food items from contamination. The unifying central theme of the three terms is food that is fit for human consumption, that does not introduce harm or disease, and achieves the nutritional function it is meant for. So food contamination is spoiling or tainting of food because they can contain microorganisms such as bacteria or parasites or toxic substances that make them unfit for consumption. A food contaminant can be biological, chemical, or physical in nature. This is also the entry of contaminants into the food product, making it unfit for human consumption. Let's go now to the different food contaminants, starting with your biologic contaminants. So for bacteria, you have your Salmonella, Campylobacter, and enterohemorrhagic Escherichia coli. So these are among the most common foodborne pathogens that affect millions of people annually. They cause fever, headache, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, and diarrhea. Outbreaks of salmonellosis have been found in eggs, poultry, and other products of animal origin. Campylobacter is found in raw milk, raw or undercooked poultry, and drinking water. E. coli has been found in unpasteurized milk, undercooked meat, and fresh fruits and vegetables. Listeria is known to lead to miscarriages in pregnant women or death of newborn babies. It is found in unpasteurized dairy products and various ready-to-eat food and can grow at refrigeration temperatures. Vibrio cholera infects people through contaminated food or water, and it can cause abdominal pain, vomiting, and profuse watery diarrhea. It has been found in your rice, vegetables, and various types of seafood. Next are your viruses. Norovirus were previously called your Norwalk or Norwalk-like viruses. It is the leading cause of vomiting and diarrhea and foodborne illnesses in the United States. People of all ages can get infected and sick with your norovirus, which spreads very easily and quickly. You can get norovirus by having direct contact with someone with norovirus, such as by caring for them, sharing food or eating utensils with them, or eating food handled by them. Eating food or drinking liquids that are contaminated with norovirus can also transmit this illness. Uh, Other routes are touching surfaces or objects contaminated with norovirus and then putting your unwashed fingers in your mouth. Another biologic virus is your hepatitis A virus, and this can cause long-lasting liver disease and spreads typically through raw or undercooked seafood and contaminated raw produce. Next are your parasites. Some parasites are only transmitted through food, like your fish-borne trematodes. Some parasites infect people through food or direct contact with animals, such as your tapeworm, um, or your Echinococcus species, or your Taenia solium in your beef. Others enter the food chain via water or soil and can contaminate fresh produce. Examples are your Ascariasis, Cryptosporidium, Entamoeba histolytica, and your Giardia lamblia. Prions are infectious agents composed of protein associated with the specific form of neurodegenerative disease. An example would be your bovine spongiform encephalopathy or your mad cow disease. This is a prion disease in cattle associated with the variant Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease in humans. So consuming bovine products containing specified risk materials like brain tissue is the most likely route of transmission. Next are your chemical food contaminants. Examples would be your pesticides, heavy metals, and other alien chemical agents. You have naturally occurring toxins like your mycotoxin or your aflatoxin and ochratoxin produced by mold on grain like corn and cereal. Others are your marine biotoxins, cyanogenic glycosides, and toxins in poisonous mushrooms. Long-term exposure can affect the immune system and normal development or cause cancer. Other chemical contaminants are your persistent organic pollutants or compounds that accumulate in the environment and human body. These accumulate in the animal food chain. Dioxins are highly toxic and can cause reproductive and developmental problems and damage to the immune system. They can also interfere with hormones and cause cancer. Your physical food contaminants are usually the foreign bodies, or these are the things that you find in your food, like hair, plant stock, plastic, metal rocks, and sometimes uncooked components of the food. So foodborne illnesses are generally transmitted to people through the food that they eat. They are either infectious or toxic in nature, caused by ingesting pathogens through contaminated food and water. They may be diseases caused by microorganisms like your bacteria, virus, parasites, which are all communicable. These are transmitted through infected or a carrier food handler, or even through cross-contamination. So for foodborne illnesses, there's usually an incubation period, and this is the time lapse between the consumption of food and the appearance of symptoms. Incubation time and severity of poisoning or infection will depend on the following factors: the type of organism causing the illness, susceptibility of the individual, like the age and state of health, and the number of bacteria or the amount of toxins consumed. So why do these foodborne illnesses occur? They usually happen because of errors on food handling and preparation at home, in restaurants, or other eating places. Listed below or in this slide are ways that we can prevent it. So it's usually yung washing of your hands, thorough cooking of your food, washing of your fruits and vegetables, avoiding drinking unpasteurized milk, fruit juices, or uncleaned or untreated surface water, and protecting food from insects and animals and rodents. You can also prevent harmful bacteria growing on your food by following the following steps. So let's just differentiate your foodborne infection and foodborne intoxication or poisoning. Food infection is an illness caused by microorganisms. It results from the consumption of food that contain living bacteria, which are multiplying and capable of producing disease. The illness which results is the reaction of the body to the presence of microorganisms or their metabolites. The gastric juices secreted in the stomach are acidic and destroy some of the bacteria. In the small intestine, however, the pH is neutral, and bacteria multiply rapidly. This irritates the lining of the intestines, resulting in nausea and diarrhea and abdominal pain. The incubation period for an infection to occur is about 12 hours or more. For bacterial food poisoning or infection to occur, approximately 1 million or more bacteria must be present in food. It is likely that food could be contaminated with several hundred causative bacteria. If conditions for growth are favorable, these bacteria may multiply to over 1 million in a short span of 3 to 4 hours. So there are also ways to control the infectious disease through our GIT. And you usually have to target any of these three steps. So the infective agent, the route of transmission, or the host. To target the infective agent, you need to do sanitary disposal of feces to avoid contaminating our food products. and the elimination of human and animal reservoirs. To target the route of transmission, you need to have safe water supply, protection of food from water contamination, control of flies, and the improvement of personal hygiene. To target the host, you usually have to give specific immunization, give chemoprophylaxis if you know that there's already been an exposure, and specific treatment once your patient is already symptomatic. Foodborne diseases are an important cause of morbidity and mortality and a significant impediment to socioeconomic development worldwide. But the full extent and burden of unsafe food, and especially the burden arising from chemical and parasitic contaminants, has been unknown. For the global estimate, 31 foodborne hazards causing 32 diseases are included, being 11 diarrheal disease agents, 10 helminths, and 3 chemicals. In a WHO report published in 2015, together the 31 global hazards caused 600 million foodborne illnesses and 420,000 deaths in 2010 alone. The most frequent cause of foodborne illness were diarrheal disease agents, particularly your norovirus and Campylobacter species. About 40% of the foodborne disease burden was among children under 5 years old. Foodborne diseases have also cost about $110 billion in loss of productivity each year due to unsafe food. And in the Philippines alone, in a single year, about 17,000 people presented with acute bloody diarrhea. So why are we so concerned about food safety? Food safety, nutrition, and food security are linked. Unsafe food creates a vicious cycle of disease and malnutrition, affecting infants, young children, elderly, and the sick. Foodborne diseases impede socioeconomic development by straining your healthcare systems and harming national economies, tourism, and trade. Food supply chains now cross multiple national borders. Good collaboration between governments, producers, and consumers help ensure food safety. So let's just go through the different technologies and policies that we have that can help render our food and water safe. So first, the technology. Thermal food preservation or heating is the process that employs heat to make food safe for consumption and or extend shelf life by reducing or eliminating microbiological contamination by pathogens or spoilage and the enzymatic activity of the food. These processes could also affect texture and flavor of food products. Next technology is the preservation using acids and natural antimicrobials, or your pickling with vinegar and microbial fermentation with lactic acid. Plants and spice extracts have the greatest antimicrobial activity. The antimicrobial activity potential of your clove, oregano, cinnamon, and thyme essential oils and components have been reported in numerous literature. There are also a number of organic acids and their salts used as preservatives. These include your lactic acid, propionic acid, citric acid, acetic acid, sorbic acid, benzoic acid, and methyl and propylparaben. Your benzoic acid is the form of its sodium salt, constituting one of the most common chemical food preservatives. Sodium benzoate is a common preservative in your acid or acidified foods such as fruit juices, syrups, jams, and jellies, sauerkraut, pickles, preserves, and food cocktails. Your non-thermal processes are processes that make the food safe for consumption of a food using alternative technologies without heat to reduce, eliminate, inactivate microbial contamination in the food. This generally does not destroy the microorganisms in the food itself. Examples would be your freezing, modified atmosphere packaging, ozone treatment, high pressure treatment, and irradiation. So now let's go now. How do we uphold safety? And as we said earlier, this is a collaboration between your policymakers, your producers, and your consumers. So first, for policymakers, they can build and maintain adequate food systems and infrastructures to respond to to respond to and manage food safety risks along the entire food chain. They can also foster multi-sectoral collaboration among public health, animal health, agriculture, and other sectors for better communication and joint action. They integrate food safety into broader food policies and programs, and they think globally and act locally to ensure that food produced domestically remains safe when imported internationally. Next, what do food handlers and consumers do? First is to identify or know that the food that they use. That means you have to read labels on your food packages, making informed choices, and familiarizing themselves with common food hazards. Next is to handle and prepare food safely. So your WHO already developed these 5 Ps to safer food at home or when selling at restaurants or at local markets. You can also grow fruits and vegetables using the WHO 5 Ps to growing safer fruits and vegetables to decrease antimicrobial contamination. So what are the 5 Ps to safer food? So first is to keep clean. While most microorganisms do not cause disease, dangerous microorganisms are widely found in soil, water, animals, and people. These microorganisms are carried on hands, wiping cloths, and utensils, especially your cutting board. And the slightest contact can transfer them to food and cause food-borne diseases. So it's important not just to keep your own hands clean, but the area where you prepare your food and your utensils and equipment as well. Next is to separate raw and cooked food. Raw food, especially meat, poultry, seafood, and their juices can contain dangerous microorganisms which may be transferred onto other food during food preparation and storage. Third is to cook thoroughly. Proper cooking can kill almost all dangerous microorganisms. Studies have shown that cooking food to a temperature of 70 degrees Celsius can help ensure it is safe for consumption. Certain food groups that require special attention will include your minced meat, rolled roast, large joints of meat, and whole poultry. Fourth is to keep food safe at regular temperatures or at a safe temperature. Microorganisms can multiply very quickly if food is stored at room temperature. By holding at temperatures below 50 degrees Celsius or above 60 degrees Celsius, the growth of microorganisms is slowed down or stopped. Some dangerous microorganisms, however, can still grow below 50 degrees Celsius. And lastly is to use safe water and raw materials. Raw materials, including water and ice, may be contaminated with dangerous microorganisms and chemicals. Toxic chemicals may be formed on damaged or moldy food. So care in selection of raw materials and simple measures such as washing and peeling may reduce your risk. So this next chart just shows the 5 Ps to growing safely your fruits and vegetables. So now let's go to the Philippine Food Safety Laws and Regulations. First is your Code on Sanitation of the Philippines, or your Presidential Decree number 856. The objective of this Code on Sanitation is the improvement of the way of Filipinos by directing public health services towards the protection and promotion of the health of the people. Chapter 3 contains the provisions for food establishments. In this chapter, it means an establishment where food and drinks are manufactured, processed, stored, sold, or served. So in order to operate a food establishment in the country for public patronage, a permit should be obtained from the local health office, and all foods must be obtained from sources approved by the local health authority. Next is your Food Safety Act of 2013, or the Republic Act number 10611. Here, this is an act to strengthen the food safety regulatory system in the country to protect consumer health and facilitate market access of local foods and food products and for other purposes. So the law aims to protect the public from food-borne and waterborne illnesses and unsanitary, unwholesome, misbranded, adulterated food, to enhance industry and consumer confidence in the food regulatory system, and achieve economic growth and development by promoting fair trade practices and sound regulatory foundation for domestic and international trade. So next, you also have the Philippine National Standards for Drinking Water of 2017 and the Philippine National Standard Code of Hygienic Practice for Milk. So that marks the end of my lecture. This was basically lifted from the DPC manual with some explanation on my part. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or I'll just see you during our plenary. Thank you.